Alright, this is the Graham Pro, latest and greatest version, getting ready to be shown in Iowa Farm Show. This is the top level screen. You can go in and show a map. What you see at the map level is the planter planting to the prescription map. The green here is the various rates that will be driven, various populations that we would plant to. Some of the things that you can see at this level are the name of the shapefile that we used. It shows the speed, it shows the target population, the actual population, the percentage of the prescription map. And what this allows you to do is that we can increase, if you get into an area that you want to increase over what the prescription map says, we can increase, and now we're at 116%. Or you can decrease if you don't want to plant as much, so you can decrease. So now we're at 93% of the prescription map. It's got the pan and zoom of any Android device. Right now we're in a mode where the planter is always in the center of the field. We can hit pan, and now we can go over here and we can look at different parts of the field. Hit center, and it centers it back up. We'll go into manual mode here. We'll drive a little bit. Now what we'll do is, it's got a guidance. We can set an A point. Normally you'd drive to another end of the field to set your B point, but we'll go ahead and set it now. And now you've got a guidance line that you can drive to. And each one of these lines tell you, I believe they're 1 foot off of your guidance line. Get out of there. One of the things we have is a row monitor. We have 8 rows that we are using, demoing. Now it shows, again, it shows the speed, how many acres are in the prescription map. It shows what your population is over on this side and what your motor RPM are over here. Now the blue line here goes along with the RPM. I have all the motors set to about 1500 RPM. You can see the population, and the reason we have different population is in our demos here we have different seed plates in each one of these units, and so some of them are going to populate more than others because they're all running at the same RPM. One thing of note is, if you see this green right here, and what that green represents is the standard deviation of the time for the seeds to fall out of the seed plate. Now what we've done, this is row monitor number 8. We have, each one of these units have screws in there that represents the seeds, so that we can show the population. Well, in this particular unit, we've taken some of the seeds out, or the screws out of there, so that we're showing doublets and skips, mainly skips, and it becomes very obvious that this unit here has got problems. And so the operator, he can look along here, and as long as he doesn't see big huge green like that, he's in good shape. Might see a little green on the top, but that's fine. But this is definitely a problem. We've been real careful about diagnostics. We're going to the diagnostic display right here, and we've tried to give the operator every conceivable way of telling the health of his system. Up in here, it tells us the various software versions that we're using, the system ID. Every tractor has an ID number, so that when there's multiple tractors in the same field, they don't interfere with one another. It tells us the Bluetooth health. It tells us how well we're talking to our controller. It says that our RF board is operational and we're talking. The GPS is connected, and the lift switch is up and down, is down in this particular one. So this tells a lot to the operator of the health of his system. This tells about every individual motor. So this motor right here, number 8, is running at roughly 1500 RPM. Restarts tells us if the motor's ever had any problems in the past and had to restart for any reason. It tells us how many seeds per second are being planted. the average distance, average time between each seed in milliseconds. But since this is a really bad one, our standard deviation is really high, meaning we're having lots of jitter that's happening because of the seed plate not being very good. If we were to look at a different system, say module number 2 down on the end here, that again is running 1500 RPMs. We only had one restart. It's putting out 15 seeds per second. The average spacing between the seeds is 66 milliseconds, and the standard deviation is 0. This is a very good system, meaning that every seed is coming out at the proper time interval. This here, it tells us how well our radio frequency is working. It tells us what channel, and there's various information that farmers may or may not want to be learn about. One of the big numbers are these right down here. That's the signal strength. And so this is, as long as each one of the rows, now this is row number 3, are roughly the same, you've got good RF. Go back. Configuration. Now this is all the different things that you have to install to set up a sprayer, a planter, like the row spacing, the plate count, the number of motors on the controller, GPS latency, and there is documentation on how to set all that up. Yes. And then to start a job, I've pre-set up a number of fields. You identify your field by an arbitrary name. I just made up these names here. The prescription file that you use for the seed, you can have a prescription file for dry or liquid fertilizer, or up to 2 other prescription files can all be layered on top of one another. Then you activate whichever field that you want to go into, and then the planter will only plant to that field right there. If you can see, some of these have manual here. We didn't have a prescription file for the homestead field, so we made it manually, and we just told it how many blanket population we wanted, and it didn't have a fertilizer prescription file. So it gives you all kinds of flexibility as far as layers of prescription files or manual. And that's pretty much the GrahamPro system.